The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
What does LionHeart mean? They line up 33 strong in his name. The drivers will compete on the most grueling road and oval tracks iRacing has to offer. And they all strive for one goal: to become champion. We'll witness which driver can push their car to the limit and find victory lane. You're watching the premier American Open Wheel Series on iRacing. The LionHeart IndyCar Series starts now.
Good evening, sim racing fans, as we go back at it. Following a rare off week for the drivers of the LionHeart IndyCar Series, they get set to do battle once again from the Windy City in Joliet, Illinois, in the Chicagoland Speedway. It's round number 13 of the LionHeart IndyCar Series Season 3 campaign. iRacing's premier American Open Wheel Championship on the sim gets set to do battle for round number 13 and a Big Joe Cam Anniversary 150. Just under now 10 minutes away from the grid as we welcome you inside the Global Sim Racing Channel broadcast booth. Joe Pete getting us rocking, and as always, Evan Pasoko and Sean Ambrose here with you to keep you rolling through Wednesday night sim racing action. And Sean, back at it, a rare off week for us. We got last Wednesday off. The drivers probably enjoyed a little bit of the DL, but now they come back and talk about coming back into this at crunch time. It's round number 13 of 18 on this championship, and we're full throttle pretty much from here on out, and it's another 1.5 mile intermediate oval that these guys are going to have to tackle. 100 laps tonight, and much like we've seen at all of these intermediate racetracks so far this season, they all present their unique and different challenges. One thing that's always going to be a factor, and it will be a dictating factor in tonight's event, is how these drivers work through the traffic in a field that sits at about 30 cars deep.
Man, what a race on tap tonight. The season drawing to a close. Everybody trying to catch Jake Wright. He's way out of space there in a whole nother zip code from these guys. Tonight, we do it here at Chicagoland Speedway. Mile and a half, you talked about, Evan. 18-degree banking in these turns. 15 degrees down that backstretch. Going to be a real challenge. This is a very fast track. These cars... they don't handle as well as you think with this fixed setup. It's been pretty squirrely out there. A lot of hard side-by-side racing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I will tell you this, as is always the case here in the LionHeart Racing Series, the push is real. It's real here at Chicago tonight. You're going to get a run on somebody, and, man, you're going to have to make a sacrifice at some point as those tires start to wear off. Tires are going to be such a big factor here tonight, Evan. Such a big factor that a lot of these teams are talking about doing a three-stop strategy just for the sake of the tires.
And I nodded agreement with you there because that's what we've seen so far this season. Tonight not going to be any different. The Chicagoland Speedway, a rather wide racetrack, but when you send these guys out there and they're running as tight as they do with no fenders on these Dallara DW12 machines, not a whole lot of additional space amongst each other, and that's why these guys are going out in what they call these pit parties, Sean. They do it every week as we get set to get for qualifying. They'll go out, 20-plus car groups, and they'll go at it, and they'll test the limits of these race cars, and then they'll see where that line is, hopefully figure that out so that they don't cross it into the race. But as this 30-minute practice session gets set to shut down, we transition into our 5-minute closed qualifying session. All of these drivers are going to go out there 5 minutes at a time, and it's going to be 2 laps per driver as they go out by themselves to set the field for this Big Joe Cam Anniversary 150. Obviously 150 miles start to finish in this one, as 100 laps your total start to finish. 25, sub-25 second lap times actually for the top 16 drivers in the practice session means that this could be a very quick race, but Sean, it could also be a very difficult race for some people if they get caught up in an incident early. If they're fortunate enough to continue, it is a long race out there with a damaged race car because this is a very physically demanding racetrack as well on the sim. The backstretch is a back stretch. It's not a back straight here. It's not as big as a factor in these Indy cars as you would say in one of the NASCAR series on the sim, but it is a unique characteristic about the Chicagoland Speedway. These guys now getting set to roll for qualifying. I'm curious to see if Tommy Ryan can get the pole because he was fastest in practice by almost a tenth of a second over Jake Wright, who, Sean, you mentioned it in the points. I mean, Jake Wright's been faster than anybody else.
He really has, and he's really good at qualifying too. And the one thing Jake has seemed to do really well is he started the front, finish at the front. I mean, that's been the key to his season. His average finish has just been incredible all year. But hey, listen, there's some great drivers in this field. Anybody can win this race with the wide open speeds here, the carnage that may or could occur, the attrition. Again, like you said, a damaged race car is just not going to do any good out here at all. Not getting a reset here in the LionHeart Racing Series, so you better be prepared for long repairs or just parking it for the night, because if you're off pace, it's just going to be miserable. A mile-and-a-half track, 25-second race pace, over 25-second race pace laps. They run away real quick, and many laps down is a certainty if your car is not handling well. Even if you find yourself at the back and you just lose the field, you're going to find yourself a lap down really quick.
And that can happen right off of the drop of the green flag. It can happen at any point throughout this. And tonight is round 13 of 18 on the season. So after tonight's contest at the Chicagoland Speedway, 5 races will remain until we crown a third LionHeart IndyCar Series champion. You talk about how the fact that anybody could win this race, Sean. This has by far and large been the most competitive field we've ever seen for this LionHeart IndyCar Series. Through 12 races so far, 9 different drivers have gone to victory lane. Only 2 names have gone multiple wins, really. And Michel de Jong, he went back-to-back at Indianapolis. Daniel Roper went back-to-back in Milwaukee, Sonoma, and Richmond. So, although it is an extremely difficult league to win in, that statistic there that the guys that have gotten more than 1 win have gotten both of those in sequential order means that momentum is a big thing. Let's take a look at our results from the Texas Motor Speedway from 2 weeks ago. For round number 12, the U.S. Armed Forces 150. Dan Guerin picked up the checkered flag in that one. Could momentum be on his side? He's been a top 3 car so far tonight.
Yeah, well, talk about the momentum. Again, Dan Guerin, a big winner last week. 3rd in practice. Been pretty hot during the practice. Honestly, he's been practicing for 2 weeks now. He got out of victory lane and got right back into the car and started practicing immediately for Chicagoland. This race means a lot to him, certainly from that part of the country. George Anzaldo, another guy from Chicago himself. So this is a home track for several guys, Dan being one of them. And a big win here tonight would certainly sit really, really nice for him. He made a big jump in the points last week in the championship standings. He could do it again tonight with another win.
A win is always a big boost of confidence in this series, and it is not an easy thing to do. By far and large, though, the key is to stay clean out there on the racetrack. If the car looks good, there's a good chance you're going to be up in the top spots in the running order when it comes down to it. Chicagoland Speedway, we talk about again how difficult this racetrack is. It's a racetrack that you don't typically get out on track with these Dallara Indy cars, but again, being a 1.5 mile intermediate racetrack, it provides a lot of excitement for us. Maybe not so much for the drivers, but as they work through 100 laps tonight, and you'll get a great bird's eye view with it along with us, these guys are definitely going to have to try to keep all 4 tires on the ground. And, we talked a little bit about that fuel strategy. These guys might cut it a little bit to try to get more tires. No tire limit on these guys, so they can come down and get as many sets of Firestones as they would like. I can guarantee you that if we get a couple of cautions at those 1/3 mark or 2/3 mark intervals, you could probably see and expect maybe a little bit of pitch strategy to come into this one. I still think it's going to take a fast car, Sean, and a smart driver to win this race, to make the moves when you need to, and to back out of those situations when it's not worth it. But pit strategy could be a factor, and that would not be the first time we've seen that this season, based on the fact that tire degradation, along with the changing racetrack conditions, is a big thing.
Yeah, I was talking to George just a little while ago before the race. He was telling me they were seeing about 25 to 30% degradation over a run of about somewhere in between about 25 and 30 to 33 to 34 laps. So, yeah, man, tires are going to be such a big factor. I really think that 3-stop strategy is going to be the way to go. If we see a lot of cautions, though, I I guess you could two-stop it if you got a lot of cautions. You're not using those tires up, but the time difference that they were seeing during the practice races, just too much fresh tires versus used up tires. So again, that's probably the way to go. Cooler temperatures out here tonight, 70 degrees, partly cloudy. Track temp of only about 96 degrees. So lots of horsepower out there. Like I said, that push, going to have to watch out for it. The car's going to get real squiggly at the end of the fuel run if they make it to that. About 4 gallons left in the tank. It's a real hard thing to handle with worn tires and a real light fuel load.
You want to talk about a lot of big names and a lot of feisty drivers. The off-season in this series is not that long, so you put these guys to rest for a week. They're antsy, and they want to get going, and we're right there with this. So let's take a look at the Global Sim Racing Channel starting grid for the Big Joe Kim Anniversary 150 as the field now grids up on the front straightaway behind the American Childhood Cancer Organization Ford Mustang GT pace car. It is going to be Corey Connor, 23rd in practice out of nowhere to get the pole position with a 24.937 to start in front of the field. You talk about momentum, well, Dan Garrett will roll from second. Christopher going to start tonight in third spot. It's a fourth for Tony Lurk. Jason M. Galvin will roll from 5th, and in P6 is your series points leader by over 125 plus. It's Jake Wright.
Yeah, and there we go. On the inside of row 4 there, that's going to be Ricky Harden in the number 05. Dylan Lee in the number 5 on the outside of him in 8. Big Joe, the Big Joe cam tonight. Big Joe Anniversary Run 50. He'll start ninth tonight in the number 11. Brandon Lincoln. He'll start 10th tonight. Ian Adams in the number 3. He will start 11th. Jason Robarge in the number 79. He'll start 12th. And Jack, I'm sorry to you, Evan.
Well, Jack Bogan, he's in that unlucky or lucky number 13 starting spot. We will see as he rolls from the inside of row 7. 14th going to go to Michelle DeYoung. Behind him, Pierre Deigel in 15th. 16th position, top side, the 6 of George Anzaldo, winner on the season. Tommy Ryan, your fastest driver in practice, will have to start mid-pack in 17th. And 18th, you'll find that AAA to Michael Gray.
And in 19th, the number 31 of Tony Schowen. James Crowell, currently 3rd in points, looking to make a big jump tonight. He's got to do it from 20th spot. Drew Motz in a number 26. He'll be 21st place. Alfred Shepard, 22nd. Preston Elson starts 23rd. Robert Blue in the 24th. Vincent Blumenthal, 25th tonight. Peter Edwins in 26th. Mark Goodwin in 28th. And Mark Norbert rounds out this 28-car field. The number 83. He'll start 28th.
And 26 of those 28 drivers take it a time, so the back two will start on provisionals. We're happy to have you with us on this Wednesday evening. And on this Veterans Day here in the United States, do want to give a big thank you and a salute to past and prior members of the United States Armed Services. And I'll have to give a shout, Sean, too, for myself and my fellow Canucks in the field here as well. Happy Remembrance Day for everybody as well, northbound, and everybody in the Canadian Armed Forces as well. It's a special evening, and we're glad that you're choosing to spend it with us here for some good sim racing action. The LionHeart IndyCar Series is not going to disappoint you. The pace car going to make that sharp left-hand turn, get down, get out of the way. They've had to sit still for 13 days, and they're not good at that. We're finally ready to get back racing. It's round number 13 in 2015. Green flag flies. Corey Connor will lead us across. We're underway.
Man, and they're stacking up at the back of the field already across the start-finish line. 3 and 4 wide guys already getting into each other back there.
And that was a bad start topside for Michelle DeYoung. He got checked up behind Jason Robarge, I believe. Robarge checked up on the outside of the racetrack, and those guys topside about row 4-5 on back. They were all checked up through the corner. That spread stands out around P10. Your leaders, though, going to be all over each other as lap 1 goes to the books. Corey Connor, the race leader, side by side in second. Dan Guerin topside to the bottom is Christopher. You got Lurcock and Wright as well fighting inside the top 5. Tight, though, at a 2 is Jason Galvin. He'll lose a couple of spots. There it goes up topside. Number 11, a Big Joe Hassert, the anniversary of the Big Joe Kim, stemming back to the Season 1 championship at the Auto Club Speedway. Big Joe Kim, you're going to go on board with that number 11. Across the start-finish line, already 3 spots to the positive. He looks to the inside on Tony Lurcock, and you see in front of him that 27 of Jake Wright look to the inside on the 7 of Stoker as well.
Evan, all kinds of racing going on here. 7th, 6th spot, up through 5th and 4th. Obviously, the leader is broken away, but the racing is tight up here. Everybody getting into it. Stouffer and Lurcock, Big Joe, Dylan Lee, all right there in that pack, side by side as they head in through turn 1 and out of turn 2 right now. What a battle. We got about 12 cars right there, just all hooked up, running in that pack.
We talked about the 25 to 30% tire degradation. Well, that is yet to begin. It's getting there, though. So these guys, they're racy. They can do this with these cars on fresh Firestones. Once we get some green flag laps in, probably not, and things would single file out. So these guys know if they're going to make up spots and they want to do that in bulk, now's the time to do so. The 8 of Dan Guerin, he'll take the number 2 spot away from Jake Wright. Jake Wright, the number 27, she falls back to 3rd after starting P6. He picked up 4 spots in the opening 3 laps of this contest. So the top 4 single file out. Joe Hassert trying to challenge and do something with a 7 of Chris Stouffer. The Marlboro machine topside not going to have any of it. And they go back down to turns 1 and 2. It again seems like the race lead is the place to be, unless you can get to the bottom and to the inside. No, Jake Wright tried to put a nose in on Corey Connor. He can't do that, and as long as that 2 machine protects the inside, Sean, you got to be feeling pretty good from that top spot.
Man, George Gonzalo had to pit, didn't see what exactly happened to him. Have a feeling got caught up in that start of the race. There was really, like I said, a few cars that suffered damage on that start. James Grahula had gotten a black flag on that. League admin Jesse Vincent clears the flag for him on that start because of the shuffle there. A whole bunch of craziness. Tough start for George Gonzalo, as already he finds himself 4 laps down. Peter Edwins lost his connection. He's out of the race. See, he's reconnected. It looks like he might be coming back on track here.
And unfortunately thing for him is he's already now 6 laps down for that 16. It is going to be tough to get back. And Pete knew something was going on, Sean, because he pulled it down to the apron before we took the green flag. That's why he finds himself 6 laps to the negative at this point. George Anzaldo came down for damage. Couple other guys, as you had mentioned, got a piece of it. They do not elect to come down, so 26 of the 28 cars that started are still on the lead lap, and this field is about to pounce all over the number 25, Kristen Elson, right now in P26, talking with the drivers behind her, letting them know where they need to go to get around because, well, they're side by side, 2-3 rows deep up top. They're going at it for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. Now the top 5 trying to pull a little bit of a gap on Tony Lurcock. Talk about some big movers in this one. Nobody's blowing many guys out of the water, but Joe Hassert, Sean, I'm impressed, started in 9th position, in 3rd right now, and he's not even settling for that because he wants 2nd, trying to look to the inside on Dan Guerin down the back straightaway. Big wreck down now to turn number 3. It's going to be upside down and over for Tommy Ryan. Caution will fly for the first time this evening at lap number 10. Those cars will slide to a rest and we slow things down and gather them back up. But you'll see what happened here on the GSRC replay. It all starts in front of Tommy Ryan. You're taking a look at Jason Robards in a fight in the middle of the corner. He's on the inside of the 2nd set of side-by-side, and in front of him, it looks like it was maybe Jason Galvin who got turned around sideways, Sean, after they made contact. It looked like it was that number 12 who got in with the 3 machine. Galvin goes into the fence. He comes down, collects Robarge, and then when Robarge was sideways in the middle of the track, he was smoked by Tommy Ryan. Ryan went for quite the wild ride for the caution flag to come out. And Tommy Ryan, fastest car in practice. I was looking for that machine to get a good qualifying effort, Sean. When you don't get the qualifying effort, you find yourself in the middle of the pack, and when you're in the middle of the pack, that's exactly what can happen to you, because if something happens in front of you, a lot of the time, the closing rate is just too much for you to be able to get around it.
What a tough break for Tommy Ryan. He's already left the server. Now, some news I was kind of sitting on because I was waiting for maybe something to happen and hoped it wouldn't, but that's a critical blow for Ian Adams right there. A 1X, any kind of infraction in this race, he's now up for suspension in the next race because of the rule in the league of so many incident points throughout the season. So I'll have to get the details when we go back from this to you. I'll get the details on it, but yeah, he's gonna have to suffer a suspension, and I know the drop weeks don't start until week 15, so he may have to sit here for a while.
And we talked about drivers being clean. Obviously, not being in incidents is a big part of that. And when you're in incidents, you get X amount of incident points, and you are up for suspension by the league rules, which is why we talked about how good Jake Wright was, Sean. Because of that, he is average incidents per race of 0.42. In 12 starts, he has 5 incident points. Just to put that in perspective, if you hit another car, that's 4 incident points right there. So being up front is a big part of that. But, some guys might think sometimes a lot of these guys, you're getting lucky getting around something. It doesn't hurt to be lucky at racing too, because that could go either direction for Tommy Rahn. The 66 could go topside and there could be a car there. There could not be a car there. No wreck is the same. So, when you're a good car, though, and you're running consistent, sometimes things go your direction, and I think it's very easy to say that Season 3 has been Jake Wright's year because he started all 12 races. The win and pole statistics are not blowing guys out of the water. He's tied with he's tied with Dan Garenshaw for most poles with 2. They're not blowing guys out of the water with that, but it's the consistency over the course of the races which is separating him from the names that have more wins than him, like Michel de Jong won both races at Indy, took the 500 and took the Grand Prix race as well, but because he had a slow start, by the time you get to round 12, you already find yourself in a hole. So, if you look at the model of consistency, I think that a lot of these guys would agree. In this series specifically, I'd take 10 top 10s and 18 starts over 2 wins or 3-4 wins and not knowing what's going to happen in those other ones. So it's those incidents early in the races that kind of get overlooked, because a lot of the time, Sean, we'll see a wreck late in a race and we'll talk about, how good that car was and how they got caught up in something. A lot of the time it's these opening incidents, the first 1, 2, 3 cautions that get overlooked that are really just killing some of these guys because they're maybe 1/100th or 2/100th off in the qualifying that finds themselves back in those precarious positions.
Yeah, and I went and dug up the rule. It's on what we're talking about with Ian Adams there. Any driver accumulating 75 incidents in a season will be suspended for 1 race. 90 incidents then results in a 2-race suspension. So, that means Ian Adams is going to have to sit out next week, and he's going to, when he comes back, he's going to have to be careful not to rack up any more. So, tough break for Ian tonight. And still finds himself right now restarting here in 8th place. Going to be a little curious to see if that car is still going to be handling any good. He did take a bit of a knock there and did have to come in. So we'll see. We're getting ready to restart here in just a moment. But Jack Bogan, I'm showing him at the front. Evan, is that right? Can't be, is it?
He stayed out. He was in P12 at the time of the caution flag, elected to not come down to the pit lane, so he is going to be your race leader at lap number 14 for this restart. The good news, if any, for Ian Adams is that everybody outside of the 20 does come down pit road, so he's able to get serviced, maintain a top 10 spot. So if you know you're not going to make the next race, you got to get everything you can out of this Chicagoland event. The pace car will dive down. It's our first restart on the night, single file at a turn 4, and Jack Bogan not playing any games. On the loud pedal, the green flag flies. We're back in the air and working lap now 15 of 100. The 20 car from 13th on the grid's your race leader.
Yeah, and didn't realize that he had not pitted. Was the only one who didn't pit. So Jack out there on tires that are almost 15 laps older than the rest of the guys. I've got a feeling they're going to swallow him up here any second. But good on Jack. He's up there gaining some points right now. Car looks really good as they come down through the stretch here. And now he's under attack. So that's what we're watching right there. Corey Connor making that move inside. Looking pretty good doing it. Dan Guerin right there coming down underneath, right on Corey Connor.
I was going to say he might be okay if he didn't open up that bottom, Sean, but once Connor gets to the inside, the floodgates are open because here comes Guerin. You got Joe Hassert right there, so Jack Bogan topside, obviously the inside the place you want to defend. The outside's bad enough without the fact that you're lesser tires on them.
Yeah, and the attrition already a factor, Evan. We've got George O'Donnell. He's back out there, but Jason Galvin's left now. And hearing guys talking right now about some cars blinking. So, man, just all kinds of stuff going on. That Dan Guerin appears to be having some connection issues. Yeah.
So if he's having those connection problems, he can be parked by race control, so he's hoping that the connection problems go away. I always like to equate a connection problem in sim racing to a mechanical gremlin, because it's something that you can't predict, and unfortunately for a lot of these guys, you can't just fix your internet, because if you could just fix it, you wouldn't have the problem in the first place. So that's something that Dan Guerin is having to be aware of. He's thinking about it. He's not 100% focused now because he's got the admins in his ear keeping him posted on what's going on. So because of that, Joe Hassert gets to second spot. He goes to the outside of Corey Connor. I'm still convinced that you're going to need to get to the inside on somebody to make a pass. There's plenty of ways to do it. All of them require getting a little bit exciting unless that two machine really opens up the door for him. But content right now just being with the leader. Don't lose pack, or don't lose touch with that pack, because if we get a green flag stretch, these drivers are going to break off into sets of 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars, and there'll be gaps in those packs. You just don't want to be the first guy in a pack that, you know, you're 3 seconds behind somebody. Your objective, maybe not pass the guy in front of you, but stay there. And you see Joe Hassert, that's exactly what he's doing. He gets in behind the 2, jumps right out to the outside. Sean, when he goes topside, he's not trying to pass the 2, he's just trying to defend that number 2 spot, at least at this point.
Oh, Michel de Jong having a moment there, just about a lap and a half ago, Evan, and I think we missed it there, but he gets run down the track trying to see who it was by, but
not happy about it.
Not happy about it at all, and gets run all the way down to the infield, manages to save the car across the start-finish line in the grass, bring it back up across the apron and back onto the track, saves it. Great save by Michel de Jong, but not happy with getting run down like that.
Yeah, that was just about an accident. It looked like he peeked to the inside on Drew Motz, and I said that there's plenty of ways if you're Joe Hassert and you want to get to the inside, Sean, that you can do it. They're all aggressive. Well, that's what that was. That's Michel de Jong in 14th position, trying to get 2 guys with 1 stone because they were side by side in front of him. An aggressive move to the inside because that car in front of him did not open up the bottom, but the bottom's open. It's just the way that the arc is off the corner, so you can always force the issue. Oh, and now he's in the wall again, so more problems for the 101 machine of de Jong. He's in the outside wall as he tried to go topside on Vincent Blumenthal, and I believe the Penske Truck Rental 72 pushed up just a little bit and got into him. Not a hard hit, but definitely de Jong caught the fence.
Man, he can't catch a break right now, Evan.
When it rains, it pours.
Yeah, man, when it rains, it does pour, and it's pouring on him right now, but you know what? Carr's still tracking, man. I think he's in good shape. A little close to the wall right there, but de Jong looks to be on the attack right now, working on Michael Gray here, taking that run down inside of him and pulling it off here as they come off the turn.
And Joe Hassert going to take over the top spot in this race, and guess what? He did it topside. He was going after that number 2 at Corey Connor, and eventually Connor had a bad run through 1 and 2, and he was actually able to make that pass on the top side. So I didn't think it was possible, but persistence, the key in that one, and I think a lot of it was a bad entry for Connor too, because Dan Guerin was able to make the move as well. So the Sinclair Tractors number 8 machine going to jump up to second, and your pole sitter for the first time tonight, not running P1 as we go quarter distance, and now topside it'll be Connor back to P2. So it looks like those cars on the inside of the racetrack, although the inside is the place to be as a defensive line, Sean, as these guys are starting to work on a green flag run, 10 laps since we dropped the green flag for the first restart on the night, those cars are starting to push up the hill. They're not able to give it as much wheel and keep them locked down, so they're going to start to use more and more of the racetrack. That means that if somebody's passing somebody, that means it's more of a gamble every time, because you don't know where that car in front of you is going, and we're seeing this right now with Jake Wright, the 27 machine in P4, trying to find a way around Dan Guerin, and Guerin's leaving the bottom wide open. The problem is, though, you're going to run a room lap car. How do we go? We'll do 3 wide. Middle goes Dan Guerin. It's Jake Wright on the bottom. They both get around Pierre Digo. How about that one?
Man, exciting. As you can imagine, I'm watching Christopher. You talked about having trouble with the car. He was in the wall just a moment ago. A little bit of scuffed at that right side just a little bit in that new Marlboro livery tonight, and already nicked it up just a bit there. Car is starting to get a little bit squirrely on him, and he saved it, but it was certainly a close call.
And once these lap traffic cars begin to blend in through the field, that was Pierre Digo. Contact in Guerin hard into the outside wall at a turn number 2. You see that bright green machine duck down to the apron of the racetrack, and I think He'll ride that apron all the way to the pit lane as it looks like he's coming down for service. You take a look at the GSRC replay right now. This was the fight that I was talking about, Sean. Jake Wright trying to get around Dan Guerin, the handling going away, and you don't want to go topside on somebody because that can happen. The 8, he just ran at a racetrack. The car would not turn anymore, and he has been forced down to the pit lane for services. That is a tough break for the driver that was in second position. Jack Bogan, though, on the radio coming down to the pit lane right at the 1/3 mark. Dan Guerin will come down and get serviced, although I don't imagine that would be a scheduled stop. Obviously got a lot of right side damage on that machine as he brings it in.
Yes, he does. That car is really torn up. The Sinclair tractor machine not looking too pretty tonight. That right side is all bent and scarred up right now. He's going to have trouble getting that car back on the track under power. We'll see if he gets some repair, but I don't know he'll get much repair from that right there. Jack Bogan, I heard, was just coming in the pits. Now, Jack coming in, you know, that could be strategy for him. Coming in now, it's about right. He stayed out of that last caution there, so we'll see here. That might work out for him in the end. I don't know, but again, Dan Guerin, really, really tough break. We talked about that momentum and how, you know, he really needed it. I know how much time he put in. He's just got to be crushed right now. He just said he was pitting out. You could hear the disappointment in his voice, but he's bringing the car back out on track. And, again, a lot of damage on the right side of that car still. Just don't know if he's going to be able to get up to speed and be competitive with these guys still.
And just as quickly as you get that momentum, you can lose it ever so fast. So big problems for that. Talking about Jack Bogan again, started 13th. He had stayed out, came down pit road. Sean, you said that a lot of these guys might think about a 3-stop race. It looks like Bogan wants to stick with his own strategy. He's trying to not have the cautions dictate what he's doing. It could work. But if a caution comes out now, not good news because he's 1 lap to the negative because he came in at lap 30. You would imagine that he'll be coming in the next time at lap 60. It's a gamble. I'll give you that much. For a guy that started in 13th position, 20th in practice, Jack might not have the most amount of confidence in his car, Sean, to go out there and pass 12 of these fast guys. So, you know, when you have a fast car but you don't have a top 10 car, what do? You get creative. Why not take the gamble? At the moment, he's in 20th spot, and he just made a pass, actually, on Alfred Shepard. So Shepard now P21. Bogan in 20th. If he gets around Pierre Deigel, he'd be the first car 1 lap down. But again, no wave by. You'd have to actually, there is wave by, but no lucky dog. You'd have to wait to see if all of the leaders would pit in front of you. It's a gamble, but I kind of like the tenaciousness of it for the iRace for Gauge 20 machine.
Yeah, I'm watching Dan Guerin back out on track here. We talked about it. Car is not handling at all. He's all over the place right now, unfortunately. Not up to speed. Yeah, working with traffic passing him. Car doesn't really look safe right now. I don't know how many laps he's going to be able to stay out there. I hope he doesn't bring out a caution for the rest of these guys. But, again, just looks to be a handful right now for him. Wish him the best. Hope he can keep it out there. It's certainly every lap matters in this point chase as we're getting down to the end of this season, Evan.
Getting down to the end of the season with 13 down, 5 races to go in the Season 3 Championship following the conclusion of tonight's Big Joe Cam Anniversary 150, but starting to get closer and closer to the conclusion of this race in specific from the Chicagoland Speedway. 36 laps in now of a 100. Chris Stouffer in the race lead. Trouble down the back straightaway. 1 car down through the grass. It's Corey Connor from the number 1 spot, and he had fallen to 3rd a little bit ago. Exact same scenario. Now the caution flag will fly as he comes back out on the racetrack. No, there's more problems now. Wrecking in turn 4. Big accident on the outside of the racetrack. Jake Wright's in it. So 2 accidents back-to-back. 1 down the back straightaway from your pole sitter. The second from the fastest driver all season long in the points. And they stem from the same piece of contact, though. So, Sean, we look at the replay. This starts with Corey Connor going up high in turn 2, almost identical to what we saw with Dan Guerin. Catches the fence, comes down, and what happens is he takes the nose clip off of Jake Wright's machine. So Corey Connor's in the grass. There's no yellow there, and then we see Jake Wright come to turn 3 with little left of that front wing, and there was just nothing he could do to keep that car pointed forward, and it went right up into the wall. Luckily, it looked like everybody was able to get around him, though.
Yeah, that's because Jake got on the brake and kept it up there. Really good job by Jake. Not Drake, folks. Jake did a really good job. That's why he's only got 5 incident points this season. Unfortunately, going to get a few more after that. But again, that's why he is leading this chase for the lowest incidents this season because of moves like that. On the brake, doesn't get involved with anybody else. Looking out for everybody on the track. Good job by him. Tough break for him, though, because that's probably going to take him out of contention. Who knows? I mean, he could get back up to speed. We'll see. But that's tough break. He just spun again. Obviously, that car not handling well. Looks like he's got a wheel up off the ground, so the suspension is obviously hurt. He's going to get into the pits here, but again, that car is in bad shape right now, apparently.
And the big thing is, most of that damage is from the contact with the machine in front of him, Corey Connor. You know, you see him go into the corner, Sean, and spin out. You might ask, well, why didn't he just slow down? He did slow down. If he did not slow down that much, that would have been a much larger incident in the corner. You mentioned that he kept the foot on the brake so he didn't slide down the track at all. So, you know, that right there, having 5 incident points on the season, that's probably at least 2, if not 4 more there, just from one accident. So just like that, from something that wasn't his fault, he almost totals what he's gotten in 12 races. So that shows you how perfect he has been. In 18 races, you could probably get away with 1 or 2 mulligans, and it might have to be here tonight because he's got that wheel turned all the way to the right, and that car's still struggling to stay on the racetrack. They'll try to work on it, though, as the night goes on. Joe Hassert still in front of the field, came down to the pit lane, and he is your race leader. A lot of wave bys, though, so good news for Alfred E. Shepard, George Anzaldo, and Jack Bogan, Sean. They're going to be able to get wave by and rejoin our lead lap runners because every single car on the lead lap came down to the pit lane. So Bogan's strategy is still alive.
Yes, it is. And, you know, talking about Jake Wright, man, really, man, that car was really a lot more twisted up than we thought. He really had trouble just getting down the pit lane. Going to get a chance to get repaired, get back out here. Now, we've seen just about everybody now has made 2 stops. Jack Bogan still with 1 stop. The only car left in this field running right now that's opted for 1 stop. So, again, that strategy appears to be working for him right now. He's going to restart another one of these there at the front. But Big Joe putting on a nice show for everybody tonight. He is certainly taking his race by the horns here.
And still with just now under 60 laps to go from the Chicagoland Speedway, approaching the halfway point in this one, and it hasn't taken all that long, just about 25 minutes off of the grid, and already closing in on the halfway point, working under a couple of yellows here early. Lights on the pace car this time do go out, so the wave by is handed out. Dan Guerin will go from 3 laps down to 2 laps down at this point. Jake Wright is still on the lead lap, but he's really limping badly. Jack Bogan will go from 1 lap down to on the lead lap. He'll be joined. George Anzaldo going to go from 4 laps down to 3 laps down, and then Alfred E. Shepard will go from 1 lap down to the lead lap as well. For the drivers that get the wave by, we'll ride on board with Joe Hassert. It is the Big Joe Cam Anniversary 150, and Big Joe, well, he's running in the top spot. We'll take a look on board with him as we get set for this restart, Sean, as he leads these guys up against the fence, single file, back to the green for 58 laps to go.
Hard to believe there's 58 laps to go. I sometimes forget how fast these cars just really are, man. I love this open wheel racing. I really do. Probably some of my favorite racing on the iRacing sim. Big Joe, maybe look at it, make this look easy. We'll see. I know he loves the clean air up front. This could be his chance here tonight, Evan, as the Ford Mustang gets ready.
And it gets set to get down and away it does. And talk about zero hesitation. He's on the right foot and green flag back in the air. Tony Lurcock, though, with a great jump. The number 42 car going to be all over the gearbox. So Joe Hassert down to turn at number 1. And you take a look out the back end of that number 11 machine as they go to turn 2. To the inside goes Lurcock. He'll get the spot, and side by side for the race lead. Lap number 43 for the 42 machine. Lurcock to the top spot. He gets the pass done down in 3 and 4.
I was watching Lurcock on that last run, and he was running. Big Joe looking back to the inside as they head down to 1. Car shuffling around just behind him there, but that's the race. Big Joe taking that lead back there from Lurcock, and now right behind Big Joe, he's got Ian Adams making the move inside, leaving Joe hanging up top.
Ian Adams was 4th the last time across the start-finish line. This time he'll be at the top spot. At lap 44, the 3 machine goes back to the race lead. Ian Adams from 11th position puts the GoPro number 3 on the top spot of the scoring pylon after being in an incident earlier tonight. He's leading this race 45 laps in. Hassert going to go back to the outside. The outside not the place to be, but he has made a pass out there so far tonight. You just don't want to be outside on a car that gets tight. So if you're going to make that gamble, I would highly suggest doing it now when these drivers still working for the most part on those fresh tires. As all of your leaders on the general consensus to come down and pit under that caution flag. So it's Adams, Hassert looking to the outside. Behind him, second place and third, it's Tony Lurcock in P3. He's just behind that side-by-side fight for the race lead. It's Stouffer in 4th, Dylan Lee 5th, Ricky Harden, and then behind them the fight is on for P6, and it looks like Tony Schoen getting the upper hand for the moment on James Krahula. And that 4 machine going to go to the outside of the racetrack, so they go side by side for the number 7 spot back in the pack. Meanwhile, for the race lead, it's Hassert to the inside. Back to the top spot goes Big Joe, the crossover yet again. We're talking about Indy cars, but you'd think they're making a move that you'd see in a stock car. It's crossing over and zigzagging every single time, and they've done it on each other about 2, 3, 4 times. This time, Hassert does it to take the lead. Ian Adams takes it right back, and Hassert not giving up, Sean. He wants the bottom yet again, and he'll do it. They're continuing to go side by side for the lead, and they're side by side for 3rd behind him, and as well for 5th, even further back.
I am just stuck on this battle here between Krahula and Schoen, side by side, pretty much every lap right now. Krahula losing just a little bit of ground, but he's still there, still staying in it, gets that car right up there near the wall, really close to Schoen, and they're side by side heading into the turn, neck and neck. This has been a great battle for several laps now, Evan. Neither of these two are any give. No
and they're doing
right
good
now,
too. They started 19th and 20th, and they run in 7th and 8th right now, so they've been making great progress now at the halfway point this next time by. How about a call behind them? Drew Mott's up 11 spots. Michael Gray up 7 spots. A lot of big movers here around P10.
Yes, sir. A lot of movers throughout the field right now. Robert Bluen all the way up from 24th up to 13th. These guys are all within about 5 seconds of the leader, so not getting away too quick because of that battle up front. So close, so many cars up there, really nobody able to really stretch it out yet. We haven't seen that here at Chicagoland. A bit of a surprise, but boy, I'll tell you what, probably one of the more competitive races we've seen so far this season on an oval.
Problems for your P5 runner, the number 7, Chris Stouffer. He's in the back straightaway grass. There's no caution. He falls to 19th in the blink of an eye. We stay green as you take a look at the GSRC replay in a battle for 4th spot. And Sean, I'm pretty sure I said, 2-3 laps ago, if you're going to make a move on the outside, do it before the tires go away. Well, obviously some problems with Dylan Lee. The P4 machine, the Fuzzies, number 5, getting a little bit tight just as that machine trying to make a move topside. And for Chris Stouffer, he gets chopped off and he goes down through the grass and somehow does a good piece of driving to actually keep it out of the fence. Does lose a lot of time, but I don't think that race car really suffered any major damage.
No, but losing time here is certainly a big deal, so gonna need to get on it and get on it quick. We're running out of time. It's 53 laps in. We're past the halfway point here, and again, you're getting in the later stage of this race here. You don't want to be losing time right now. Still a good race going on right here up front. Big Joe, a lot of chatter on the radio right now.
He's not happy
guys.
either.
Yeah, not too happy with each other. Man, that's looking pretty squirrely up there.
That's the second time, at least tonight, we've seen 2 leaders go 3 wide, trying to get around Pierre Deigel if they do so. Joe Hassert has been fighting with Ian Adams. Adams is topside. He's the GoPro number 3, and it's Joe Hassert on the inside in the Big Joe Overdrive Graphics number 11. They've been swapping out P1, P2 for quite some time, and Hassert got hit in the right rear quarter of that car by the 3 of Ian Adams. Adams drafted up to him, tried to duck to the outside a couple of laps ago. He got clipped by it. I don't think Hassert's car is damaged. I don't think Adams' car is damaged by it, but Joe Hassert obviously taking exception to it over the radio, and and he's venting his frustration directed at the driver of the number 3. All of that, though, it's allowed Tony Lurcock to rejoin the party. Don't count that 42 out. He's right behind him.
Yeah, well, Lurcock's behind them, and then there's that next pack right behind them that are still battling it out. You've got Ricky Hart and Dylan Lee and James Carrul all right there, nose to tail. They're trying to make a run. The yellow is out, Evan.
Caution will fly. The pace car going to get out on the racetrack, and we try to find the number for that one, but we slowed things down at lap number 57 for another caution flag. And could this be one of the final times they're going to have hit run? It looks like it's trouble for Corey Connor, driver that started up near the front of the field in P1 on pole position for this race, is just disconnected, and it's a big accident for the driver that was running at the time in 14th. We'll take a look at the replay now. All of this starts in a side-by-side fight. It's a battle for position. The crossover to the inside is Vincent Blumenthal, Sean, and I find it hard to really put a whole lot of blame on Blumenthal there. It looked like Connor came down the track. I think he was sideways and didn't have much of a choice, and he came down and he snapped right when Blumenthal was there, and both of those cars went for a ride. Unfortunately for Corey, he was into the outside wall, so that put a lot of damage. Blumenthal gets away a little bit better because he goes through the grass. 7-2 is still hurt, but unfortunately for your pole sitter, night is going to end on the wrecker as Corey Connor is manually disconnected from the sim. His night is done.
Yeah, Blumenthal not making any contact as we ride on board with him there in the replay. Not making any contact there in the infield, able to drive through the grass. Car doesn't really look too bad. I'm not really seeing any damage on it. He's bringing it in for service anyway. Maybe a little bit of damage there on the right front wing. But again, he's going to get back out pretty safely. Connor starts in, where did we say he? Well, he started on the pole. Connor was our pole sitter and now finds himself disconnected and gone for the night. So your pole sitter is out. Tell you what, lots of opportunity for guys here that haven't seen any action up front. We've got a lot of guys that haven't had the best luck tonight. So we talked about it at the beginning, Evan. This could be anybody's race to win. Right now, I'm beginning to wonder who is anybody going to be. A lot of guys still in this race.
And the fun continues under that cycle of pit stops. Your leaders came down. Tony Lurcock, who we were talking about, who was in third, Sean, gets into his pit stall, completes his service, and what does he see? He sees a dead heat behind him, which, by the way, was a great race for the lead off of the pit lane, and I don't even know who they called it for, but it was dead even with Joe Hassert and as well fighting side by side with another machine there, Ian Adams. But for Tony Lurcock, he tries to get on the gas, he spins it out, and he can't get going because in the cars, when they're in the stall, Sean, on the sim, and anybody that's a part of the sim, they know you can go through somebody else's car, but when you're not in those pit boxes, you can hit somebody. So Tony Lurcock can't spin the car around because he's facing the wrong direction. He finally does so, but he's in the grass, and he actually goes around the pit road exit cone, so there is a possibility that the sim would penalize him for an unsafe pit exit for leaving it before that green cone that marks the exit of the pit lane because he took the grass out. I believe that would give him an EOL penalty, being that he already lost a bunch of spots anyways, but he's letting everybody by. So Tony Lurcock, P4 in practice, P4 in qualifying, a top 3 car in the race. One small mistake like that, and you go outside the top 17, 16 cars or so.
Yeah, and losing ground, we're going to reset this race with just 39 laps to go, and not a time to be losing anything, but these guys can all make it. No, I'm sorry. I don't think they can make it, actually. I think we said the fuel window was 34 laps. So one more pit stop is going to have to factor in here for everybody. I don't think there's any way these cars can make it 39 laps to go. If they get another caution, I guess you could pretty much guarantee everybody's going to come in and get fresh tires again. So this field could certainly reset itself here again before this race is over. Anybody's race to win. That's the theme tonight. So who's going to step up and take it? Will it be Grahula? Will it be Showen? How about Brandon Lincoln? We'll see. Michel DeYoung, he's still fighting out there. He could be a factor before it's all done. It could be his race to win. He could get his third victory of the season. We'll see.
And everybody on the lead lap came down to the pit lane. That's last time, except for the number 9 machine car. That's the number 26 of Drew Motz. He was running P9 after starting back in 21st position. And John, he's aware of the fact as well that these guys are going to be coming back down to the pit lane. He's hoping that they decide to do that before he runs out of gas. So the number 26 machine, he will be your control car for this restart at lap number 61. We cross over to lap number 62. 49 laps left. 39 laps left even on the board coming up to this restart. So we slowly inch closer and closer to the checkered flag, but we're no longer counting up. We're counting down. Down is where the pace car is going to be going. That pace car going to make that sharp left-hand turn down to the safety of the pit lane. Mott's top side to make sure that nobody goes to the outside of him. The only place that these guys are allowed to pass on before the start-finish on. He's in control. He hesitates a little bit. He's on the gas. Green flag in the air. Back at it from Chicagoland with 39 laps to go. And the top two spread out a little bit. Good news for your race leader. The fight for third on back is a heavy one to the inside. How about Ricky Harden? P7 to the number 3 spot. Behind them, James Krahula started in 20th. He wants a top 5 position.
Man, what a battle. I'll tell you what, just checking out Drew Motz's car. Drew Motz under attack right now by Big Joe making a move to the inside there, Evan. I'm going to say Drew Motz in that fighter jet here on Memorial Day. Great car to look at, but man, he just got overtaken by Joe there real quick. Almost didn't even know he was coming there, but he pulls it off and pulls it off in classic fashion, and he starts to pull away. Great move by Big Joe, taking it away from Drew Motz right there. Motz looking to see if he's got a little something for him, but right now he's falling back. Joe comes across the start-finish line, your leader here with 64 laps in the books, Evan.
And how appropriate would it be for Joe Hassert to win the Big Joe Kim Anniversary 150? We've been riding on board with him tonight, and you see behind, that's where all the fun is. Drew Motz got past rather easily, and that 26 stuck topside. So Ricky Harden, he'll take the number 2 spot. Ian Adams follows him to take the number 3 position, and side by side behind for P4, 5, 6, 7, and then continuing on through. Basically, the 26 is just hoping that he doesn't fall lower than 21st. If not, he ends the night on a positive, but a close call at a 2 with the number 5 in front of him, Dylan Lee. That checks up Tony Schoen. Schoen will lose a spot and all of that as this continues to rage on, and really it's just the freeway and everybody's on the left side passing him topside, so Mott's having a tough time hanging on.
Having a tough time hanging on indeed. Dylan Lee, he looked a little loose there in the fuzzy machine as well. It looks like he's having trouble with the handle on that thing. You know, again, this is a tricky track with high speeds. The car, the downforce, not quite as good as you'd think it would be. Really squirrely cars. They get a heck of a run in the draft here. When you get a run on somebody, it's so hard to keep it out of the wall. We're seeing that tonight. We've seen it a couple of times already. I'm sure we're going to see it again. Dylan Lee looks to have that car back under control, but back up to the front. Big Joe, still our leader, holding off Ian Adams right now. Ian Adams on the attack again, Evan.
If you thought this one was over, Ian Adams here to disprove that theory because he is flying 223 miles an hour down to turn number 1. Topside for the GoPro number 3. Sliding high off the corner is Joe Hassert, and they'll go side by side down the back straightaway. If I'm Adams, though, that's not a comfortable place to be on the outside of a car that is starting to get tight as these tires begin to get laps. I'd suggest a crossover. There it is. To the inside goes Ian Adams, just like they had done multiple laps prior to the most recent yellow. Ian Adams catapults to the race lead at lap number 69. It's Joe Hassert now in second, and Ricky Harden in third, trying to join the fight as well. By the way, James Krahula ended up second best in that 6-car battle for third on back. He's now gone 20th to P4.
Yeah, well, Ricky had to get out of the gas there. I don't know if you noticed it, but he got a run on Big Joe and had to get out of the throttle. Really cost him there. You see him running up the track right now, taking that higher line, maybe trying to treat those tires. So a little bit of a break right there. Krahula, his teammate, right there with him. Up front, Ian Adams making the move on Big Joe, going inside.
Hassert crossed him over, and the 3 returns the favor in the exact same spot he used 2 laps prior to get the race lead in the first place. So Hassert going to take a look back to the outside of the racetrack. If you're Ricky Harden, you see these guys fighting, save your tire, save that race car, and maybe keep a safe distance because these two, they've had words so far tonight. They go at it again. It's Hassert to the inside. It's Adams on the outside. These guys can do this all race long, flip-flopping inside and the outside lane. Eventually, though, when that push gets real, and trust me, we've seen that tonight, Sean, by far and large, when that happens, you don't want to be on the outside of the racetrack. I like what Ricky Harden's doing. He could drive it to the white line and be aggressive. He's running the top of the racetrack. He's keeping a gap, but as well, he's still with them. He's not letting them get away. I really like the way that 05 is setting him up right now in P3.
You know, we talk about people who moved up through the field tonight. You know, we haven't paid any attention to Kristen Nelson. She's in 11th, just gave up 10th to Tony Lurcock, a battle in front of her with Tony Lurcock and Michelle DeYoung. But Krista hanging on to 11th place right now. Got her sights on a top 10 run this week. Had a great run last week. Not remembering exactly where she finished right now, but I remember it was a great run for her. So Krista showing the power tonight here at Chicagoland Speedway.
And in 11th is her, and just a couple of more spots back. Mark Norbert has dropped 2 in the last couple of laps, but even with that, the number 83 from 29th to 12th, he now sits in 15th. It is continuing to slide back at the moment on the outside of the racetrack. But again, around P10 is where you see a lot of those guys that have had great nights. We've mentioned James Krahula, 20th to 4th. You got Michael Gray, 18th to 6th. 19th to 7th is Tony Sherwood. A lot of names like that are doing very good jobs at this point in the race. 25 laps to go, though, this next time by the start-finish line. And we continue to wait. Do you pit under green? Do you wait for a caution flag? How fresh do you want those tires at the end of the run? How worn are you allowing these tires to get if we go green, to see how much time you may possibly lose? The only thing that we can update you on is that Ian Adams, he's gotten the race lead. He was in front when Joe Hassert's car finally lost enough to not be able to give him one more crossover. So the 3-car, your race leader, by over half of a second now back to Hassert. And Hassert, you just saw, losing that number 2 spot because Harden picks it up.
Yeah, Hassert having to get out of the throttle right there. So we talked about that pit stop and when you're going to take it. Well, I'll tell you what, you stay out of this track, based on what we've seen so far, if you stay out of the track too long, you're going to be the caution flag that everybody needs. So that's what's going through your mind right now. Do I want to be the caution flag or do I want to come in? Big Joe. Big Joe's pitting. Big Joe's coming in, just made the call.
And that car was really starting to fall off, so here he comes. I'm not surprised by that. He's going to bring it down to the pit lane now, much like we saw earlier with the pit strategy call from the driver that we saw up in front on his own strategy, as we had called it for a lot of the night, Jack Bogan, Sean. Came down pit road, was a lap down. Luckily, everybody on the lead lap pitted, so he was able to get back. This is a big gamble for these guys that come down to the pit lane, because you do go one lap down on a pit stop cycle. Ian Adams, though, he's also coming down, so it looks like it'll be green flag pit stops. Your race leader's in.
Race leader's in, and Jack Bogan's still on the track, so only 2 pit stops so far for Jack Bogan. He's going to have to make one more to finish this race, but right now, that strategy not looking too bad for him. He has now moved up to 9th place, was in 11th just a moment ago, and he's tracking and gaining ground.
Everybody comes down, they get 4 fresh tires, they gas up, and they go. It's no more than maybe 7 seconds on the jack, and you're back off and away. So these guys, efficient as they can. Adams going to get back out on the racetrack. Adams was leading, but he ran 1 additional lap to Joe Hassert on older tires. Can Joe beat him off for the pit lane? Ian Adams will blend out on track in 13th. Joe Hassert is not going to be able to get to him, though, so it looks like Ian Adams still on the positive end. The short pit for Joe Hassert, not enough to get in front of company. It looks like Ian Adams would cycle through to be the race leader at this moment over James Krahula, still yet to come down to the pit lane. We still await the top 7, 8, or 9 drivers to come down to the pit lane at least. It looks like 12 drivers yet to pit. Drivers 1 lap to the negative are those that have completed service, and Krahula now comes down to the pit lane, who, by the way, has been having a great run as we mentioned.
Yeah, Krahula having a really good run tonight. Out of the broadcast booth and into the race seat, and finds himself right now just having a solid one tonight. But right now, as the way things cycle around, Michael Gray is your leader. After that, those pit stops, Michelle DeYoung sits in 2nd. Krista Nelson finds herself up to 3rd with Jack Bogan right there with her. So cars still with pit stops to make, but your leaders right now are some people, or I'd say leaders, but these drivers here towards front, a couple of them we're not used to seeing up here in the late stages of the race. They're doing it on strategy and making it work right now.
Michael Gray, a longtime runner in this series. The Triple Eight is your race leader at the moment. Michelle DeYoung, two-time race winner on the season, is in second. Has not had a superb night, but has had a good one after starting in 14th. And at this moment, it's Krista Nelson in third. Jack Bogan going to try to make a move for that spot. But here come the fresh tires. So you see Krista Nelson, who she got passed by, is not somebody that she's racing with for position right now. That's Ricky Harden. One lap to the negative in the 05 machine, out on track on fresh tires. And actually, I think Harden might be the race leader once all of this wraps up, because he's in front of Krahula, Adams, Hassert, Lurcock, and company. So how about Harden maybe stealing this one? 6 drivers yet to come down pit road. We're waiting on Gray, we're waiting on DeYoung. Nelson still to come, Bogan, Bluen, and Nobert. The 6 drivers on track that still need to make one final pit stop, 15 laps to go.
Bogan just made the call. He's coming in. Bogan bringing in number 20, iRace for Gage. DW12 on the pit lane. Makes that pit lane entry clean. Right at speed.
The battle for 7th, though, which is going to become for the race lead, is on. Ricky Harden had it. James Krahula just blew the non-existent doors off. And Ian Adams doing the same thing. So the 3 going to take over 7th. The 4 takes over P8. Behind them, Hassert gets around Harden also. So the short pit by Harden. The tires bite him on the long run. And now it's Ian Adams head-to-head with James Krahula. Again, at this moment, it's a fight for P6, but this will become the race lead, so all eyes down the backstretch.
Krahula keeping it really tight, man. Just right there on his door panel through the turn. Trying to cross over. Krahula trying to get that low. Adams cuts that off. Won't have any of that. Krahula going up top, trying to make it work up there. Adams just really in control right now. Krahula not finding a good spot to get around. Got a slower car in front of him. Guerin pulling off the track there, letting them get by as they fight.
Caution flag will fly. 13 laps to go. The yellow comes out, and it's problems down the back straightaway. It looks like Krista Nelson is involved. The caution flag is out, and this is caused from Michael Gray. Yellow flag is out. Nelson not happy on the radio, and Gray comes out of the pit lane as we take a look at the replay. The Triple Eight coming out of pit road here, Sean, has to blend up on track. You can't blend up in the corner. You blend up on the back straightaway, and I know it's not an excuse to run somebody over, but I'm sure Michael Gray was not expecting Krista Nelson to be driving on the white line, because normally that bottom's wide open, so I don't think they really just expected each other to be there. Obviously, Nelson's not happy, though.
Yeah, we're riding on board with her right now on the replay right there, and yeah, man,
you can see both sides of the story, because you saw the onboard with her, a car just comes up and hits her. But for Michael Gray, you can't drive down the backstretch the whole time.
Yeah, you got to blend in at some point there. You have a little situational awareness, too, on both drivers' behalf there. Honestly, I'm going to put the blame on both of them for, again, just not having a little bit of situational awareness. I mean, Chris has got to see him coming. He's got to know she's there, checking his relative, and that's a tough break for both drivers right there. We're having a good run, and that ruins their run for the evening now. We're going to restart this race with a sprint to the finish, Evan.
You see both of those cars on the pit lane torn up. At the end of it all, they're both out of this race, and it's the unfortunate part about it. So those 2 drivers going to head to the garage. We did have names that had yet to come down to the pit lane. Michelle DeYoung did not pit. Robert Bluen did not pit. Talking about trying to stretch, what was it, 40 laps, I think, when we saw these guys last down to the pit lane. It's a 34-lap fuel window. Michelle DeYoung has not pitted, Sean. That means that it is Michelle DeYoung, Robert Bluen on the lead lap, and that is it. Ian Adams, Krahula, Joe Hassert, Ricky Harden, Tony Lurcock, Tony Schoen, Dylan Lee, Chris Stouffer, we're not stopping anytime soon, Drew Motz, Brandon Linkeman, Alfred Shepard, Jack Bogan, Vincent Blumenthal, and Krista Nelson are the following 14 drivers. Nelson is going to drop 2 laps to the negative as her car parked on pit road. Those are all the names that are 1 lap down. We talk about there's no lucky dog in this series. That means that if you're the first car 1 lap down, you don't get a wave by like you do in NASCAR racing. But we have seen guys getting waved by the pace car, Sean, when the leaders pit, and they're in between the leader and the pace car, they get to join up in the back. That is not the case, though, because DeYoung and Blewett have not pitted.
Yeah, and, I'm showing DeYoung, he's pitted 3 times already. So he's good on fuel now. He does have that damage on the right side that he suffered earlier in the race, but the battle is between him and Blewett. Blewet's pitted 4 times. So neither of them.
They were both down last time on lap
59.
59 was the last time both of them were down. And I know we said everybody's going to come down to the pit lane because you're 6 laps short or so. They're banking on some yellow, Sean, because they're saving fuel now. And it goes back to, you probably should come down pit road. Do you have to come down pit road? For DeYoung and Blewett, they're trying to take advantage of this situation where, hey, we're the only 2 on the lead lap. We can let these guys go. They're not going to lap us in in 7 or 8 laps or so. They get another caution. They might be good on fuel. If they're not, Ian Adams, as we were talking about, the fight that was for 7th and then 6th, Ian Adams won all that. So he's the highest running driver right now that has pitted and is guaranteed to be good. The fun thing here, though, is that your race leaders are blending in with the lap traffic. So Michel DeYoung is your leader. He is sitting P1 right now. Second position is Robert Blewett. He will now join him. Behind them, every single driver that has led so far tonight, excluding the cycle of pit stops, is a lap down. So they better hope these guys run out of fuel. What a gamble.
What a gamble. I'll tell you what.
And I did say pit strategy could be a part of it. I wasn't thinking this, but it works.
Yeah, and if these guys pull it off, it's going to be one of the more amazing races we've seen this season, and I guess we could officially call it a fuel strategy race at that point. What do you think, Evan?
I'll agree with that. So there are 2 drivers on the lead lap at lap number 91, and there are 13 drivers 1 lap to the negative. Good on fuel. DeYoung and Blewett may not be good on fuel. There will be 8 laps to go from the Chicagoland Speedway. How does this one end? The pace car gonna get down and out of the way. Michel DeYoung and Robert Blewett go mano-y-mano. Green flag gonna fly out of turn number 4. Back and away we go. Not a good start. Robert Blewett absolutely butchers that one's tire spin in turn number 4. He's gonna lose a spot, quote-unquote, to Ian Adams being a lap car. Now Michel DeYoung just needs to not wreck because Blewett not a factor. He's getting run over by the lap cars.
Hassert on the apron almost lost it just under Robert Blewett right there. That would have been tragic. Hassert hanging on to it though. Krahula right up in front of him, fighting, still trying to get a win here tonight. Looking, but it's going to be tough here at this point. We're running out of time, Evan. 6 laps to go.
Ian Adams is still third. The big difference now, though, he's not 1 lap behind. He's 27 seconds behind. He is now in front of the race leader. So is James Krahula. What this means is they're no longer a full lap ahead, or rather behind, but if it was DeYoung to pass them again, they'd lose the lap. So if a caution is to come out now, and it has to be now, because if we get to the final 5 laps, a caution would end this race, they'd be able to get back to the lead lap. But for Michel DeYoung, trying to get his 3rd checkered flag on the Season 3 campaign, he's letting them all go. He's backing it off with the throttle because he's 9/10 of a second to the good over Robert Blewett. Blewett's getting passed on the bottom. DeYoung's getting passed topside. I think it'll be decided between the 101 and the 48. Sean, if they're going to run out of fuel, though, they're probably not going to pull down and pit. I think if they're running out, they're running out on the racetrack. They're not coming down at this point.
No. I doubt it very seriously. My goosebumps right now. Blewett's talking on the radio. Is he running out of fuel? I don't know. No, he's up top there. He's still under power.
The long way around, though, up top. I know it's not a big difference, but that's a little bit more fuel you're using when you're on the top side. DeYoung's got the bottom. That's the shorter way around.
Yeah, he is keeping it down there on the bottom, and he's still nailing it pretty well. We saw Showen get around here, made pretty quick work of him, but that's just the difference in tires. At this point, DeYoung still on it pretty hard, not really looking looking like he's saving any fuel. He's going for it,
There's
man.
a lot of cars coming behind him, though. He's going to go low. They go 3 wide. Top side on DeYoung are Ricky Harden and company. He is just trying to make it to the end of this race, and he is getting past left and right. Those drivers that are passing him, Sean, 1 to 2 seconds faster per lap. DeYoung saving to make it to the end. Don't save too much, because here comes Robert Bluen. The gap between the top two on track's only about 5 car lengths. 2 to go this time.
Here comes Bluen. He's back on the charge, man.
Using the draft of that car in front of him.
All these guys behind them have just got to be wondering, are they going to run out of fuel? They're really questioning it. George and Zalo in the chat questioning whether or not Michelle is going to run out. Not showing any signs of it yet. Just 1 lap to go, Evan.
You done 99 laps. You need enough fuel for 1.5 more miles. White flag will fly for Michel DeYoung. 1 lap to go at Chicagoland.
He's out of fuel.
Robert Bluen is out. He's slowing on the top side of the racetrack. Picks it back up, and it looks like still under power. But that car is burping, and now DeYoung slow. That's it. The 101 not going to make it.
Bluen is, though. Bluen's going to make it. He's going to make it, Evan.
Turn 4, final time. DeYoung slows to a stop almost down the back. Bluen stretches the fuel. Checkered flag flies, and Robert Bluen will save it up to take the checkered flag and the pit call and fuel strategy of the year to the driver of the number 48 to win the Big Joe Kim Anniversary 150. Michel DeYoung is coasting on the apron in turn number 4, and maybe we'll get a top 15 out of this if he's lucky. And that's Bluen, who I said was taking the long way around, Sean. But the big thing was when DeYoung was letting everybody go, Bluen was behind them. He was in their draft. He's got enough fuel left for a burnout.
Yeah, I can't believe he does. That car is, I bet it doesn't leave the start-finish line. I can't imagine he's got enough fuel to even make it in at this point. What a win for Robert Bluen, man. Long time coming. Great job by him. He outsmarted every one of them, Evan.
And we said that these races could come down to fuel strategy, but who honestly expects this? In a pit window of 33 to 34 laps, he goes 41 with the assistance of some caution flags and a lot of the heads-up thinking and thinking out of the box. I'll tell you what, on top of the pit box and from behind the wheel, Robert Bluen does some burnouts after saving fuel. Official number will be 12 drivers to finish on the lead lap. By the way, Michel DeYoung does coast home to a P12 in this one after running out of fuel in turn number 2. And Bluen started to burp too, and I thought they'd both be coasting back. Somehow enough to come back around to take the checkered flag. Got a little bit of burnout in it, and well, now he's out of fuel. So the crew's going to push that car to victory lane, but Robert Bluen, a winner in the LionHeart IndyCar Series, walking away with the Big Joe Kim Anniversary 150. Lurcock second, and Big Joe himself, Joe Hassert, in third, in what has been the craziest fuel strategy race in the series history of this one, and it came down to the end of it all. Bluen had enough in the tank to win it, and it'll take a little bit to push into victory lane. So with that, we'll step away, and we'll be back in a moment. Post-race from Joliet, Illinois. You're watching the LionHeart IndyCar Series on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll be back in a moment for post-race action. Well, we slowly start to wrap our heads around things here. Post-race at the Chicagoland Speedway, we welcome you back into the Global Sim Racing Channel's presentation of the LionHeart IndyCar Series. The Big Joe Cam Anniversary 150 marks the record-tied third win on the season for Michelle DeYoung, now tied with Daniel Roper for the 3 trips to victory lane as far as what it could have been. Robert Bluin and those two drivers going at it, and Bluin spoils the party for DeYoung, who runs out of gas on the final lap. Sean DeYoung trying to match Roper, as I just mentioned, and Roper, one of the better drivers we've seen all series, early on, dominated, and DeYoung really has come out of his shell here and absolutely gone at it in this second half of the season. Tonight, though, it was not meant to be. It looked like for Joe Hassert, it was meant to be in the Big Joe Cam Anniversary 150. Not quite either, and Robert Bluin is a winner, and we're very excited to talk to him. Let's take a look at the Global Sim Racing Channel full race results from Chicago. Bluin, your winner. Tony Lurcock is able to be the first driver back on the relatively sane strategy of getting fuel in the race car to come home in second. It's Hassard in third, Krahula fourth, and Tony Showad in the number 5 spot. A P6 for Ian Adams, Ricky Harden in 7th. 8th spot was Dylan Lee, Chris Stouffer in 9th, and a great finish as well for Brandon Lincoln to come home and round out your top 10 cars.
And in 11th place, Vincent Blumenthal. Michelle DeYoung, tough break, man. Just couldn't quite stretch it. He'll be the last car on the lead lap in 12th place. Alfred Shepard, 1 lap down, 13th. Jack Bogan, 14th. Drew Motz, 15th. Mark Nobert, 16th, 2 laps down. Pierre Deigel, man, just never really got hooked up tonight. Kind of an off night for him. He finishes 3 laps down, 17th. Same thing for George Gonzalo. Never really got it going. Got in a little bit of trouble there. Had to pit early. Things never really got going. He got caught up on that the start of the race there. George comes home 18th. Dan Guerin, we saw his trouble. He'll be 19th. And Krista Nelson, tough break for her after having a really good run there, and has her night cut short. 13 laps down. 20th place, Evan.
And then everybody else from here on out also found themselves in some problems. It was a 21st for Michael Gray. Corey Connor, your pole sitter, 22nd. A 23rd for championship leader Jake Wright, who, by the way, with a 23rd place finish tonight, Sean, drops to only 108 points in the championship lead out in front. Mark Goodwin is 24th. 25th tonight, Jason Robarge. Galvin in 26th. It was Ryan 27th. And Pete Edwins rounded out your 28-car field in P28. Shotgun after 100 laps from Chicagoland. Gonna get the post-race interviews kicked off and caught up on the pit lane with your third place finisher tonight.
User was moved to your channel. We rode on board with him
for quite some time tonight, as well as for some exciting restarts. Joe Hassard, who looked like it was his race to lose, and Joe caught on the wrong end of a pit strategy call that I don't think many people saw coming. You're able to fight claw for a P3 tonight, but I mean, what were you thinking coming down pit road with 41 laps to go? And next thing you know, there's a caution, and you guys, well, you don't get waved by because 2 guys stay out. What was the whole thought process, and really what was going on in your head there for those final 40 laps through all of that?
Well, it was tough. Ian was racing me really hard. So it killed my tires, and I got behind them. I was starting to push up, so I decided to come down, get some fresh shoes, and then I don't know, a little slow on entrance and exit. Got a little sideways on exit. So I ended up behind them again. They pit right after me. I was just going to try to pull a fast one, get some fresh tires on, and try to run away again. But I guess, they had some good stops. I got caught behind them again, wore out my tires again. And then, we got to the end there, and those guys, I guess, couldn't handle taking second and third, so they had to hit each other. So I'm glad I got the podium due to other people's mistakes, but I made my own mistakes to put myself in that position too.
And as a total, I mean, you ran very strong tonight in that number 11 machine. You started P9, and I don't think you waited till lap 10 to break the top 3. I mean, you were moving there But, you talked about coming down to get those fresh tires there late, being the decision, and to get those green flag pit stops really kicked off. We saw that tonight you guys could cross each other over, and I know you were talking about you fighting with Ian Adams there a lot as well. You guys, one would lead the next time, you'd cross each other over in turn 2, and you'd cross each other over the next time at a 4. So the cars were racy, but after 10, 15 laps, they really started to fall off. And a lot of fast guys from the top 10. I look down here at the bottom of the standings. Galvin, Connor, Wright, and Dan Guerin, some of the names that started top 10, come home outside of the top 18. They just got too tight and caught the fence. So, after seeing those guys get into problems where you maybe caught off a little bit off guard as far as that it was going to be that bad, or through the practice and the practice races, were you expecting these cars to really fall off that harshly and you were prepared for it?
I knew it was going to fall off. I don't know if I was just racing harder towards the end. We set our fastest lap on lap 97. So there was, they were still fast enough at the end, but the second half of the race, I felt like my tires just went away a lot faster than they did when I was sitting in traffic trying to make my way through the field. So it was kind of puzzling putting that together, but getting caught a lap down, and I knew that DeYoung was going to stay out because he has done it before. He ran out on the apron on the last lap, so he almost had it, but it was just, it was just puzzling the whole night.
And through all the chaos and such, you walk away with a P3 tonight. So obviously a strong finish for you guys. And, coming off of one of the off weeks, we go right back at it. 3 more weeks if you include tonight. 2 more races, back-to-back action. We'll go racing at the Phoenix International Raceway coming up here in 1 week's time for next Wednesday evening's contest. And Phoenix, 125 laps there. Very much so different than this racetrack and these intermediate tracks we've been racing at. But the good finish for you bumps you up to 4th in the points. So you pass 6 drivers in the point standings through tonight's race. How do you defend that at a track like Phoenix, which, really anything could happen there because it's the open dog leg. There's a lot of room, but there's not a whole lot of room once you get to the turn. So a lot of guys, I know they can get physical. We can kind of classify that one, I think, like we did Iowa earlier, and say that Phoenix is going to be a bull ring.
Yeah, Phoenix is weird because you think you have room, but then
very deceiving.
Then there's a wall. The wall in turn 1 will get you if you're not paying attention. Coming through the dog leg, guys are going to try to dive under you. Coming through turn 3, it's a lot better, that we have the white line rule. Otherwise, guys be dive bombing that too. Depending on the setup, if I know anything about how these guys like their setups, this is going to be a draft lock kind of race where everybody can just pile up and you're going to be side by side all the way around the track, and you're going to have a super speedway draft model, and you're really on a short track, so it's not fun.
It'll be fun for us, maybe not for you as much.
It'll be fun to watch. It's not fun to drive because you can't pull away from anyone. You get in the lead and you're not safe in the lead. Like here, I pulled away for a while, got caught back, with a caution, but that's not going to happen at Phoenix. So it's tough. It's going to be a tough race.
Well, I'll bid you good luck for next week now to make sure that that's on your side, hopefully. Before we let you go, those sponsors, shout-outs, who makes it happen for you in that number 11 team?
I just want to thank my teammates at No Name. I ended up racing pretty hard with Tony there. He had fresher tires than me at the end, so I congratulate him on second place. And thank you guys for being with us for a year now. That's great. And whoever runs that big Joe Cam, I'm Jed. I thank him too.
1 year to the date and to the round, and you gave us some exciting views on this one, Joe. Thanks for sticking around and chatting again. Congratulations to you for the 3rd place finish. Congrats for bumping up to 4th in the points, and I'll again repeat, good luck at Phoenix. We'll see you then.
All right, thanks, Evan.
A lot of anticipation, Sean, for next week. Tony Lurcock, though, a great run start to finish tonight. He started P4. He comes home in 2nd, and you've caught up with him.
Tony. So close to getting that first victory tonight. Doesn't quite work out for you, but you'll take a podium finish, won't you, sir?
I will, particularly after that last pit stop and dumping it, embarrassing myself, and driving, I think it was 19th. I restarted and came all the way back up. I'll take it.
Yeah, we caught that on camera, Tony.
Yay!
You'll have a memory there for yourself.
I got
Hey, listen, great run tonight. You know, it was early on in the race. I was watching you. You were tracking well, man. Car looked like it was really hooked up, and you weren't fighting it too much. How did it feel out there tonight?
No, I was pretty much on the high side, or trying to stay up on the high side, and learned that if you stayed up on that top lane and used it to kind of ramp down, it felt nice. It didn't push too much, and you kind of got a run coming out of the corner. That Toyota engine and the overdrive graphics car there just kept pulling down the straightaway, and we're making ground.
Well, a really nice run for you tonight. It doesn't really move you much in the points, but certainly a great finish, and it's got to make you feel good. You know, we head to a totally different track next week. We were just talking about the challenges at Phoenix. How does that track there at Phoenix set up for you and your skill set?
I like Phoenix a lot. I've won quite a few times there in fixed. I've had a win there in open. I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot survival. It's a lot like Iowa, which I ran strong at up until the end, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, Joe said that's a place where the lead never really feels safe. So I'm sure you guys will be battling hard next week. You always are here on Wednesday nights, and that was a great run tonight, Tony. I got to admit that, like I said, I had my eyes on you there early. You looked like you had it in you tonight, and you certainly did there at the end. Got a little bit of luck along the way, and certainly with as we saw cars spitting all over the track tonight, you had to avoid that carnage. So good on you, man.
Thank you, sir, and nice win to Robert.
All right. Well, Tony, we'll wish you safe travel. We'll see you in Phoenix next week, sir. Evan, I'm going to pass it back to you, and I believe you have caught up in victory lane with our winner.
The driver of the number 48, Robert Bluen, starts this race in P24, and on the pit strategy call in series history, probably stays out on pit road behind Michel de Jong, and it looked like de Jong had won the battle, began to pull away. Bluen closed the gap, forced the 101 to get back to the gas, and, well, he didn't have enough gas for the gas that he was given it. And de Jong runs out of fuel, coasts home in 12th, and Robert Bluen pulls the strategy card and gets the checkered flag at the Chicagoland Speedway. Caught up with him now down in the virtual Gatorade victory lane. And Robert, first off, congratulations to you on that win. We were not expecting that, and a whole lot of the other guys weren't expecting that. Talk us through the idea behind it.
Oh, I have no idea what I was thinking. Second to last caution, I pitted. We filled up the car, put on some tires, and just hoped that we would have enough to go to the end. The second caution helped us up, but our team there, we just had a good strategy, and it played out for us.
And I'm pretty sure we said the same thing when you guys made the strategy, and that was, what are these guys thinking? Because you were at least 7 laps short on fuel. By the numbers, those caution flags help you, and was that enough fuel to get back to do a little bit of a burnout, I saw?
At the end, I had about a half gallon left. Krista, who was crunching the numbers on the pit stops, first we had about 2 laps to the good. As we were going through to the second or the last caution, we were basically on the bubble. So the call was basically on that last caution. If Michael had pitted, I was pitting because the 12 cars between us, they would have got around. He stayed out. I knew they would drop behind, and I just had to save gas those laps. What is it? 6 laps, 5 laps?
You guys were able to make up the distance estimated at about 6 or 7 laps, I think it was, to get the win. How was the car out there? Because you started to P24 in this one. I know not the best qualifying effort that you would have liked, a top 20 car in the practice session. A lot of people, though, the handling on those cars were gone. Nobody wanted to go 40 laps because the car wouldn't do much. You elected to take the top side there near the end of that one, but out in traffic and out really through the course of the race, what was it like navigating through everybody?
Overall, our car it's not a top 5 car. We're a top 15 car at best. It's just the guy behind the wheel. But the setup that we had, it handled better on the outside than on the low part of the track. I found I was able to get a better run and not be loose or be tight. When you pit within the first 5 laps, it's loose on the bottom, but I just found for my style driving towards the top and arcing it in was just the best move for us.
So you get the job done at Chicago, and I have to pose the question now. The next race we go to 1 week's time at the Phoenix International Raceway. That track and that race, a lot more close quarters, might be more of a battle of survival over maybe a little bit of pit strategy. But what's the game plan going into Phoenix? We talked to Joe Hassert. He says he's pretty much terrified of it, but Tony Lurcock likes it. What's your thoughts?
It's a tough track. I think the last season that we raced here, I got into a wreck midway through, just not paying attention. It's survival. We qualify poorly. We ride in the back, and we just hope that attrition gets us to the front for a chance for a second win in the season.
Well, you get the checkered flag, and on the 11th of November, so a very special win for you guys, getting it done on Remembrance Day to get the win, and as well on a day to honor our past and present military members. Robert, sponsors and shout outs as well. Who do you want to thank for putting her in victory lane here tonight?
Basically, the only sponsor we have is Dragonfly Racing. I'd like to thank my teammates that were in the race, Mark, and Krista. We had a plan. Try to execute it as best as we can. I feel bad for Mark Goodwin getting DQ'd for the black flag. Mark Norbert again got the outside of the wall. Krista got messed up in somebody else's wreck. But yeah, it's a team effort.
And it ends up with you in victory lane tonight, Robert. Thanks for sticking around and chat with us again. A big congratulations to you. And, I know not the best night for the team as a whole, but a big positive out of this one is that the number 48 is at the top of the scoring pile. And we wish you the best of luck. We'll see you at Phoenix. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again with another good result.
Yeah, you two guys, thanks a lot, and keep up the great work that you do.
It is Robert Bluen, your winner from the virtual Chicagoland Speedway. Shawnee gets the job done, and a fellow Canuck got the job done for me tonight.
Yeah, that was a team effort there on the broadcast and the race. Nice win for Canada tonight on Remembrance Day. And yes,
I do have my poppy on, if anybody knows what that is.
Yes,
I do have the poppy, so.
I was explaining to my son just this morning the importance of the poppy. Yes, sir. But yeah, what a great race tonight. What a great finish. What a surprise for everyone in the house.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, you really, really do. And a good showing by old Big Joe Hassert there. Comes from a little bit of disappointment last week. Finishes third this week. Gets on the podium. Great run for Lurcock. Krahula gets himself closer to Jake in the championship hunt. There's still a chance, man. It could still work out for old Jimmy Krahula in there. He's going to have to get on the pedal. He's going to have to hope for some good luck there for Jake Wright, or some bad luck for Jake Wright. But just an overall great race again tonight. We had guys coming from the back of the field to have really decent runs. You look through the top 12 that stayed on the lead lap. They came from 25th. They came from 19th. They came from 20th. So really good runs, really strong race. Next week, under the lights at Phoenix, is just going to be a mixed bag of craziness, I'm sure. That's a fun track, but a really technical one. And these drivers will have it all hanging out there next week for us, Evan.
And what we saw tonight with Jake Wright getting in an accident is that Superman can have his off weeks. And you talk about Krahula. Krahula has 6 top 5s to Wright's 7, but they both have 10 top 10s in 13 starts, as they both started every single race so far this season. It is still far from over with 5 races to go, and we hope you will join us for those 5 Wednesday nights as we work through this Season 3 championship that wraps up, and I think it was 65 days was the official number in January for the season finale. Until then, though, another one in the books, and probably one of the more refreshing races we've seen in quite some time, with Robert Bluen walking away with the checkered flag. Do want to thank a lot of people on our end of things as the drivers thank their sponsors, a lot of people that help us out in doing what we do. iRacing.com, Motorsport Simulations, XSplit, the Audio Technica Corporation, as well as Avra Media USA. And a huge thanks to, you'll see the names on the racetrack, they're up in the tower though, they're doing a lot of work. The LionHeart administration team, Sean, as always, George Ansaldo, Jesse Vincent, and Tony Lurcock for everything they do behind the scenes. It's the 1-year anniversary of the Big Joe Cam, so we've been doing this on GSRC now for 365 days, and we're loving it every single Wednesday night of it. Additional thanks go to Dougie Beard for providing us with all the camera sets you saw tonight, and Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde for with the music you hear throughout the broadcast. Their information is up on the screen. You can stay up to date with us here at the Global Sim Racing Channel online at www.globalsimracingchannel.com. Twitter at GSR Channel. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. You'll take a look at some of the upcoming races we have on the screen here. Trucks to Indy cars and everything in between. But as we aforementioned, it is Phoenix on Wednesday, the 18th of November at 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Under the lights, it's the unacceptable 125, and Sean, I normally ask you to preview it, but I'm not sure what else we can say, much then we'll see what happens.
We can say it's going to be unacceptable. So
there you go.
The guys from Unacceptable Racing will certainly appreciate that. Look forward to next week. Race being truly unacceptable. So there, I got it in twice. But a great race again tonight. Evan, I'll let you put the pretty bow on it that we always do here at the end. It was a great one, and I look forward to being with you again next week, sir.
IndyCar returns to Phoenix in 2016. We're beating them to it. We'll see you Phoenix then next Wednesday night right here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Until then, though, on behalf of every member of the GSRC team and on behalf of the broadcast crew tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, as always for Sean Ambrose and our director, I'm Jed Yamid, we thank everybody for tuning in, and a big congrats to Robert Blue and his winner tonight, the number 48 machine. The pit strategy call gets the job done from 24th to 1st. He is your winner on this Veterans Day. And again, another big thank you to past and active duty military members. A big thanks to what they do for allowing us to do what we do and have some fun here on Wednesday nights. We bid you farewell from the Chicagoland Speedway, and good night. We'll see you in Phoenix next Wednesday.